graduation week. How we feeling, y'all?
I don't know.
All right,
Nick.
Here's what we need to do. We need to get everybody off mute. We need to have a graduation week to claps. Are we ready? Everybody off mute?
Okay, I'm ready.
Maya's already off mute.
Let's do this.
All right, let's do this. We ready?
Ready?
2 claps. Ooh, that was beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Totally off sync.
Good job. Okay. Well, hey, y'all. If you've tuned into this Life Talk series, this was totally inspired by you guys. Over the years, seniors have always said, hey, Prince, we don't know nothing. Can you just like tell us some life stuff? And I'm like, well, what life stuff do you want to know? Like, I don't know, like what to expect next year, money, I don't know, congressmen, so, you know, stuff like that. That's what we really want. Okay, so we put this together. This whole week is for you guys, right? My talk today is just about like the next chapter, what to expect next year, what to expect the next 10 years, this next chapter of your life, okay? But before we get to that, I wanted to take a quick journey down government lane because so many of us are in here together. Avi, I'm not ready for you yet, sweetie. I'm not ready for that yet. So let me try this one more time. Screen share, and we're gonna go right here. Why is it there? Okay, we're just gonna do this. Probably not the best in the video, but that's okay. All right, Life Talks. We're talking next chapter today. But before we get into that, I wanted to take a kind of a dive back down memory lane of the government world, right? One thing I do for seniors is I like to put together each year kind of a montage, if you will, of events and key moments that happened in our government studies this year in terms of current events. So this year, we learned that there is a border wall that is being built between Colorado and New Mexico. This year, we learned about impeachment. This year, we learned more about impeachment. We learned more about the details of impeachment than most classes ever do. We learned about quid pro quos this year. We learned about acquittals. We learned about foreign policy and kind of on the brink of war type events. We learned about ripping up speeches. We learned how the youth have powerful voices and continue to be powerful. And not only was that demonstrated earlier this year, but it continues to be demonstrated right now. We learned about the battle for the Democratic Party's new face. And we learned that Will Ferrell is actually one of the contenders under the name Delaney. But what we learned about in the battle for a new face for the Democratic Party is the party turning to a familiar face. We learned about the stock market and economic anxiety. We learned how one moment can shift our lives and can interrupt our lives. Also demonstrated here. And finally, we learned about the power of protest. So again, I just want to take us down that walk, down some of the memories and events that have been with us this year. it got me thinking about what's next as this week we wrap up classes at North Kitsap High School. You wrap up classes at North Kitsap High School or virtual North Kitsap High School. And we enter into the conversation of what is next? What's the next step to your life? What's the next step to your journey? And what to expect not only next year, but the following year, what to expect in the next 10 years. What are things that's going to happen, that's going to unfold in front of you, once again, that you can expect. So in preparing for the thought of what is next and what you're going to encounter in the next couple of years in this next chapter of your life, I thought about my little baby girl, Avi, who now is sandwiched between two men, a 7-year-old Dan and a 1-month-old today, baby Teo. But the last few months, though has been frustrating in numerous aspects, has been fun because I've gotten the opportunity to watch her grow. And one thing I've seen her do is establish herself as a human being. And what I mean by that is I look at my baby Teo right now, who's like, he's pretty dependent on just everything. His thoughts are like, I want food and I'm tired, I need to sleep. Where Avi's cognition is a little deeper. Right now, she's really trying to establish herself as a human being. She's learning to talk. Yesterday, she said bird for the first time and pointed to a bird. She's also learning how to eat, as you can see here. She's learning how to love in more ways than one. When we brought home baby Teo a month ago, she was really unsure of what to think about her new baby brother. She's learning to be a little delicate with her touch and not so much just smacking him in the face. But ultimately, she's building a foundation right now of her life. Furthermore, she's learning how to walk. And I want to share this with you. So she's picking herself off the ground, standing up, falling down, dancing a little, falling down again, getting back up, kind of getting back up, trying to figure it out, and then trying something new to move to where she really wants to go, and then try again until she arrives. And I think that is a relevant connection to the next chapter of your guys' lives and to this next season of life. I call these, and I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm going to credit my wife for the turbulent analogy, but I'm calling this chapter, the ages of 18 to 30, the wonderfully turbulent time. And when you think turbulence and see a picture of an airplane, that's probably a negative thing. Turbulence can be challenging, but this past winter break, we went to Hawaii and we suffered turbulence on the way to Hawaii. So it was something that occurred on the way to a beautiful place, right? So it doesn't have to be negative, but can be something to endure. This next chapter of your life, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be transitions, changes. There's uncertainty. You're going to be asked to build new relationships. You're going to be asked to repair relationships. You're going to be asked to end relationships or suffer the ending of relationships. During this time, you're going to be building yourself up, establishing a foundation, building up your education, building yourself up through skills, vocational skills, career training. You are building you during this time. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, but can come with it some challenges. You're going to be establishing a career. Ultimately, you are building your foundation and establishing your life during this time. Okay? That is really exciting, but does come with some thoughts. And I want to give you some tips, some skills to help you navigate some of the things that you are potentially going to encounter during the next season of your life. I will say that each one's story is their own. That the turbulence that comes with this 18 to 30 range, that age group, doesn't all occur at the same time. I will say that my turbulence occurred first semester of my freshman year, and probably right at the end when I was about 27, making that transition from one career to the next. Okay, so each individual story is their own. When you're thinking about navigating the turbulence that often comes with this time, I want you to think about these themes of opportunity and relationships. Opportunity and relationships. I'm going to tell you some stories and make some connection to these themes, okay? First off, let's take a look at opportunity in Prince definition terms. Opportunity looks like to me that something great is about to happen every day, with the mindset that something great is just about to happen. And not only that, I'm going to take it a step further, is I'm going to go make something happen, make something great happen. Opportunity doesn't look like these huge major events all the time. Sometimes it's as simple as saying hello to somebody. Sometimes it's as simple as sitting next to somebody at a lunch, or having a conversation, or like I said, opening the door for somebody. Opportunity comes in many, many forms. And when our eyes are open and we're looking for it, we can make that come to life. So opportunity, one, of course, this isn't a Prince speech without me saying opportunity, right? I want to share with you a story about a 2005 your teacher, Jared Prince. If you didn't know this already, which probably you do, I graduated from high school at North Kitsap High School in 2005. This was a life at North Kitsap, being a grad, going to school there. Again, the school looks a lot different than I went to school there. It was kind of dumpy back then. It looks a lot better now. Anyway, I loved this life at North Kitsap High School. I worked hard to build a life, to build friendships. I had huge support systems. I loved my teachers. I felt as comfortable as possible at North Kitsap High School. So when I graduated in 2005 and received that diploma of mine, I was excited. And I'll be honest, I didn't really want that summer to end. I had relationships with people that I wasn't ready to move on from. I had a situation that I wasn't ready to move on from. So when the time came to finally get in my car, pack my stuff, and head east of the mountains to Pullman, part of me was not ready to make that move. Okay, first of all, in crossing the Cascades and going through Vantage, if any of y'all have driven to Eastern Washington, it strikes you very quickly that it is different than the west side. The west side of Washington has trees, mountains, water, the whole gamut. Well, if you've driven to Pullman or you've been to Pullman, that is not what that world looks like. So right out of the gates, the comfort that I felt at home was gone. I was uncomfortable as one can be. In pulling on campus, all my bags packed, I remember moving into this dorm, Strite Parham. And my dorm was like the only floor that wasn't remodeled. So it was an absolute dump, but it overlooked the football stadium, and it was a short walk over to where a lot of my activities were at. So there were some goods and some bads with it. My roommate in the dorms, I had never met in my life. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't that interested in making further connections over there. And that was one of my major regrets, is that early on, my focus was so squarely on what I didn't have, the friends that I did not have anymore, the support that no longer was present where I was at, was not there. And I was in this foreign world that, again, I was not familiar with and resistant to adopting to. This is a common thing. One of the coolest parts about being a teacher of just seniors is when seniors come back after their freshman year of college. They come back around Thanksgiving and Christmas break. And the stories are different, but they follow the similar pattern. Some students come back and they're absolutely miserable. They say, Prince, I'm miserable, and I sit in my dorm all day long, and I don't like it. And I can totally connect with that. When I got there, I was so focused on what was in the past. Once again, the relationships that I had formed that were in high school, the connections that I had, that I didn't commit to going forward, to moving on, to embracing my new reality. So around Thanksgiving break, again, tough go. I'm excited to come home, back to familiar grounds. I come back around Thanksgiving break. I'm excited to see everybody, but I look around and it's like my world has changed a little bit. And at that Thanksgiving break, I came to the realization that it was time for me to move on. That it's time for me to move on and embrace my new opportunity in front of me. So when I went back to Washington State, I came back with a fresh new attitude. I committed to letting my roots settle in Pullman, in my new home, connecting with my roommate. And one of the biggest connections I made was one day at an empty lunchroom table. There was one person in the lunchroom. And something came over me that I was like, I have to go talk to this person. So I got my lunch, I sat down next to him, and we started talking. And like 10 years later, he became the best man in my wedding. So you never know what you're gonna do, what you're gonna find when you commit to embracing an opportunity. And maybe that's just having a conversation with somebody. Maybe that's having this person that you didn't really realize was, didn't give the relationship a chance, but then dove into it. You realize that you have another great friend there too. This is Andrew. He was my roommate. He was my roommate in the dorms. And he was in my wedding as well. And if I look at these people in my wedding, these are people that I met while in college. Rhodey, I met him in college. Andrew, he was my roommate. This is my brother. Kenny, I met him in college. This is a relative. And Chris is a high school friend. So I challenge you, don't seclude yourself in your dorm. Get out there, meet people. What does Campbell say? She says, people need people. This is our wedding once again. That's my beautiful wife. People need people. And she's absolutely right. Go out there. I challenge you to meet as many people as you possibly can. Don't seclude yourself. Get out of your dorms. Go out there. Get outside your comfort zone. One of the best advice that wasn't given directly to me, but I heard somebody say was, when you are in a moment of great discomfort, embrace the discomfort. Embrace it. Lean into it. I'm outside my comfort zone. Great. Go for it. Okay? So relationships. This next 12 or so, that 18 to the turbulent time, 18 to 30, again, you need your people. Start assembling your team. Find the best, right people that you can, and have the courage, if part of your team that you're assembling, if you're realizing that some of these people that you're connecting with or assembling your team with aren't bringing out your best, have the courage to step outside in that relationship as well. Okay? Have that courage. But relationships, huge, connecting with people. Next, so after college, part of the turbulent times, the wonderfully turbulent times, the really cool opportunities that you get during this time is there's a transition. You're about to enter a transition from high school to college, or high school to the working world. For us that are going to college, or for those that are in the military, during this transition period, there's a second transition as well. And that is college to the working world. Okay. And part of my story, and again, I mentioned this in the beginning, everybody's story is unique. Part of my story was I went to college with two things in mind. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a baseball player. And what I wanted to teach, I actually wanted to be a health teacher and a PE teacher. Chemistry changed that, changed that path. Okay, so sometimes the path that you think you're going down or you think you're chasing might take you in a completely different direction. But part of my story is a baseball element as well. And at the end of my senior year, I got the opportunity. I was drafted by the Texas Rangers, and I spent 4.5 or so years in their organization. And some pursuits that we chase are pursuits that take a lifetime commitment to achieve. And for me, this pursuit was one of them. This was something, again, teacher, play professional baseball. That was what I've been after since I could walk. And to get this opportunity, once you're in the system, how professional baseball works is there are a number of teams and levels that you can play at, that you try to move up the better that you do, with the hopes that eventually one day you're lucky enough to be on the major league club, the big league club. Okay. So when you get drafted, you're at the very bottom one. It goes like the lowest is rookie ball, and then there's short season, and then there's a low A, a high A, a double A, triple A, and then the big leagues if you're lucky enough to climb the ladder. And in this spring of 2011, before the season starts, everybody goes down. If you're a part of the organization, you assemble in Arizona, and some clubs go to Florida where it's warm, and you have practice games and you get ready for the season. And again, the hope of anybody is to get that shot at the big league level. And spring training is largely separate. You have big league spring training and minor league spring training. And I was in minor league spring training. And one day I was sitting at my locker, and a kind of somebody from the director of player development, that is who decides your fate. So the director of player development says if you're cut, meaning you're done, you're gone, or if you're going to move up a level, or if you're called up to the big leagues, they decide your fate, right? And so I have the spokesperson for the player the player development dude, who was Scott Service at the time, who's now the manager of the Mariners, said, "Hey, Jared Prince, Scott Service needs to see you right now." Immediately my stomach drops, because I'm like, oh God, I'm cut. I'm gone. I'm going home. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to leave yet. And I've seen people get cut before, and it is brutal. Their locker is cleared out immediately like they were never there. So I kind of reluctantly put on some slippers, and I walk towards his office, and I sit in there. And Scott Service looks at me and says, "Jared Prince, I have something I need to tell you." And immediately, once again, that pit in my stomach drops. And he says, "You've been invited to play with the big league team this weekend and travel with the team to Las Vegas." And I'm like, pretty thrilled, because I just thought I was going to get cut. But instead, I just got called up to the big leagues for the weekend. And I remember how thrilled I was. I ran out of there as soon as I had the time, and as soon as I was done with the meeting, and I ran to my phone and called up my folks, and they immediately bought tickets to Las Vegas. And we were leaving in a few days, so I went out and I bought new clothes, because you had to dress up nice if you're a big leaguer and you wanted to look like a big leaguer. So I bought nicer clothes. I don't think I slept for days. I tried not to die, because I was like, I just can't die, because I need this moment. I need this opportunity, or I'm so excited for this opportunity, right? And the day came, got on the bus, got on the bus. We drove down to the Phoenix airport. They pulled onto, this was really cool. They pulled onto the runway, and we got off onto our own private jet to Las Vegas. It was pretty cool. I remember having a big old burger on the plane and stuff like that. It was really awesome. But I'm sitting there in that moment. I'm on a big league travel game road trip to Las Vegas. I'm thinking, sometimes in life, man, you are going to get this call that you've been waiting for your whole life. Or you're going to get this call that you've always been waiting for. I remember how thrilling that moment was. We land in Las Vegas. I had my own room. They gave me per diem, and then turned in early to go to bed to get ready for the weekend games versus the Chicago Cubs. Next day, get up, go through the routine. We go to batting practice. I remember taking batting practice with some of the best players in the world, and thinking how exciting that was. Then come game time, it's about the 5th inning. And then finally I hear this, hey, well, it was probably the 7th inning, whatever. "Prince, get ready, you're going into right field." Oh my God. Okay. 20,000 people in the stands, more enthusiasm in the park than I've ever heard. So I'm going to the outfield. I'm super pumped for the opportunity. My first at bat, my first big league at bat, I got hit by a pitch and scored. All in all, after game 1, I felt it was a pretty successful day, and I was pretty pumped about it. The next day, same type thing. 7th inning, I get called to go into left field. Usually I played right field, but I went into left field. The game was really, really tight. It was a close game. And I remember one pitch, and I can still see this ball coming at me. There was a line drive to me in left field, and I charged in on this ball. Again, I'd caught thousands upon thousands and thousands of fly balls in my life. I charged in on the ball, and I totally whiffed. Totally whiffed and let the go-ahead run score. I had an opportunity in the 9th. stepped up to the bat, runners in scoring position, had a chance to redeem myself. I was feeling fairly confident that I was going to be able to redeem myself after misplaying that ball in the outfield. But with 2 strikes, the guy threw me a nasty slider. I froze and struck out with the bases, with the runners in scoring position, the game on the line, a chance to be a hero. So again, I had this huge opportunity I was so excited about that I've been working my whole life for. And it just crushed me as we're heading back to the airplane. And on the airplane, I do a little reflection. And I think to myself, I'm like, sometimes in life, you get that call you've been always waiting for. And sometimes in life, it's not going to work out and you're going to strike out with the game on the line. But in between all of that, there's opportunities. Through the ups and downs, there's opportunities. The sun is going to come out tomorrow. And I remember my focus being purely on what I could control. My attitude, my effort, and my character. That's where my focus went. Let's fast forward a whole year. This is 2012, 2012. Again, I get the opportunity. I get called up to a big league game. And this time I'm playing against the Mariners. And I remember how thrilled I was for this. This is a picture my buddy took who was watching the game at home. I had a pretty gnarly beard going at that time too. We played the game, really fun opportunity, especially playing against, the team that I grew up watching. The next day I got up, I went to the park. I'm sitting in my locker. And once again, a spokesperson for the head of player development. We had a new head of player development at that time who wasn't as much of a fan of what I brought to the team as Scott Service was, and called me into his office. And instead, this conversation wasn't about calling me up to the big leagues. This was a conversation about, we're releasing you and your career is done. Similar to how I called my folks previously to tell them a year earlier that I was going on a big league trip. I called them to let them know that I was coming home. So I got in my car and I drove by myself up Highway I-5 for like 1,000 miles. And I was at this point where I had 2 roads to go down. I could continue to pursue baseball, or I could go a completely different route and pursue teaching. And I wrestled with it the whole way. I drove, again, by myself the whole time. And when I crossed the Portland Bridge into Washington, that's when the clarity hit me. That I was done with baseball, that it was time to pursue teaching. It was time to move on. I tell you the story, excuse me. I tell you the story not just to communicate that for those that commit themselves and work at it, you're going to get that call that you've always been wanted, that you've been waiting for and always wanted. But also that there are going to be moments where you're going to have to make a decision that your road is going to take a different turn than you thought. Some of you guys might be heading into college or the workforce with an idea of what you want to do with your life. That could change. I went into college with the idea that I would leave a high school health and PE teacher, with the idea that all my friends and all my social circles had already been made in high school. And I left different, Okay, I left Washington State, a professional athlete, and eventually a social studies teacher. But in crossing over the Portland Bridge, in recognizing that my life was about to take a totally different turn, I crossed over that bridge. I made it home on a Wednesday. By Monday, I was enrolled at OC, taking 20 credits on my pursuit to getting my endorsement in social studies. After a year of really just committing myself like crazy, I ended that following year with my master's in education, master's in teaching. And later that summer, I got a call from Mrs. Sawicki saying that I got a teaching job at North Kitsap High School. So once again, we have an idea of maybe how these next few years are going to unfold, of what could potentially happen with them, or an idea. But sometimes we know that life is going to have other ideas, and we have to have the courage sometime to step into that, lean into that, and work to change that. Which brings me back to my little baby girl learning to walk. Is that sometimes we're going to fall down, we're going to dance, we're going to shimmy, we're going to fall down, we're going to get up, and then maybe even we're going to have to just change directions a little bit. But those that truly believe that something great is just about to happen and are willing to work with it with great character will find themselves one day able to do just what you've been seeking your whole life. All right, y'all. That's what I have. Do we have any questions, any thoughts, anything for me? This might be our last time as a political science community here together.
I personally don't have any questions, Prince, but I just wanted to say thanks for sharing.
Hey, you bet, Aaron. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prince. That was a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carter. Thanks, Sabina.
Hi.
Thank you for teaching us.
You bet, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Eleanor.
General.
Hey,
Thank
all
you.
right, y'all. Congratulations on graduating. You guys are beloved Vikings. You will always be welcome at our school. If you come back, when you come back home, please come in and say hi. I always love seeing you guys, and tell me how your life's going, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Will
y'all.
do.
That's all I got. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good one, Prince.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.